By popular demand, I'm gonna release one more video today, and that is how I run out west. And I'm gonna go inside and get me something to eat because I've been fasting now for 19 hours. Let me tell you, I get a ton of questions in my email and right here on my YouTube page about how do you survive out west. And the general response I get from people asking how do I run out west, they normally tell me that he came out here for a month or two and either flat went broke or ended up having to go back out to that shitty east. Before you lose your fucking mind that I call it the east shitty, let me tell you something. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. I just want to start off with, I run out west because I live out west. So it makes more sense for me to stay out here because I can bounce into the house anytime I want to do a 34-hour reset. Because I live in a high freight lane area out here in the west. I ran all across the United States a few years ago. I lived down in South Texas. Let me tell you, living in South Texas, I made darn good money living in South Texas. I just never got to see my family. That's because every time I routed to go back home about once every 2 months, I'd go home for about a week, once every 2 months, I was always taking crappy pay going back home. And then for some reason, it always seemed like I was taking crappy pay coming back out of the house to go back east or to go back west. So I picked my family up and we moved out west. And I kid you not, just about every weekend, if not every other weekend, I am home for 2 or 3 days at a time. And throughout the week, since I do pass through the city that I live in, I get to stop and do my 10-hour resets periodically. For people who have families, you know that's pretty darn important to be able to stop in, see the old lady and see them old rascal kids. Hopefully this extinguishes a lot of the questions, but I'm just going to assume for a minute, all you truck drivers that are watching this video wondering how you run out west, that you're a competent truck driver, which means you know what the hell you're doing behind the wheel of a truck and when it comes to load securement. You've got enough experience behind the wheel that allows you to be able to run all these mountain passes during the winter time. You're not afraid of chaining up. You run out here in the west, at some point in time, I promise you're going to be chaining up. That you understand the CG on your trailer to include the securement that goes along with that to be able to traverse the mountainous terrain running out west. And with all that being understood, you're bringing all 150% of your knowledge and experience to the table. You must be partnered up with somebody on the other end of that telephone that's lining these loads out for you. You have to be partnered up with somebody who's also bringing 150% of their knowledgeable experience to the table running out west. What do I mean by that? You know how you have a relationship with the shippers and receivers. I hope it's a good relationship. And how you have that good relationship on the telephone when the broker, when they want to call you 50 times asking where in the hell you're at with the load. That silent partner of yours, the guy that's going to make it happen, also has to have the knowledgeable resources and partnership and friendship with the brokers on the other end of the telephone. Because it's a dog-eat-dog world out here in the west. Loads are not readily accessible like they are running out in the east. If any of y'all ever watch any of my videos, you might hear me refer my brother from another mother. That is Dimitri, who lives in Moldova. That guy has so much knowledgeable experience dispatching, and I am successful with the loads that I get and the payout on the loads I get because of that man. That man is absolutely the best. I could not have had a better silent partner. I've had some damn good silent partners, and he has most definitely been able to fill them shoes as a dispatcher. But he has developed certain relationships with brokers who operate out here in the west. And if it wasn't for that, I would probably struggle a whole heck of a lot more than what I may struggle now, which is really not. My main struggles are loads not being ready when they're supposed to be ready. And I gotta tell you, a lot of you guys coming on board, wherever you might be, as a company driver or a lease purchase operator, which this video is more engaged to the lease purchase operators, you're going to have a governed truck, and that governed truck's probably only going to do 68, 70 miles an hour. So you're not going to be able to run the posted speed limit. Well, and when the posted speed limits are 80, you shouldn't be running that anyways. But I got to tell you, I'm in a non-governed vehicle, and that really helps out a lot, because on a smooth day, I'm able to lay down 650 miles easy. And that's with doing my load securement checks on every 150 miles. Well, you know, the first one's 50, and then everything after that's 150. Shouldn't be going over 3 hours. But that's with laying them load securement checks down and not running that clock straight through. On fabulous days, them long stretches on the 80, you know, I could lay 700 miles down easy. And the reason I'm talking about this is because when you're running out here in the West, it's very important that you have overnight delivery on these loads to be able to survive out here. At a minimum, my typical delivery is about 780 miles. And that goes from 780 and ranges all the way up to 12 to 1300 miles. Irregardless, I'm having the load there the very next day. And there's nothing illegal about it. So before you go down in the comments and try to light it on fire, if I'm able to drive 650, 700, 720 miles a day, I am getting that dang load there the very next morning to catch my next load before lunchtime. So if you've heard what you wanted to hear and you don't want to hear no more, go ahead and jump off, because I'm going to keep going a little bit longer. In order to make it out here, you also want to be strategic on how you fill up. A lot of these places, when you run out west, the fill ups, the fuel will kill you if you're constantly filling up in states that have high fuel prices. Got this guy over here snooping and pooping on me. I guess he was thinking that I'm a vagrant or something. So I'll tell you, I run Colorado, I run Wyoming, I run Montana, I run Utah, I run California. Occasionally I'll dip my pinky toe off into Nevada, but I'm always going right back to Colorado. North of Denver, there's a Phillips 66 on the 25. You could get diesel there for $2.99 a gallon. And just about every Maverick you come to in the greater Utah area, diesel pricing is going to be under $4 a gallon. Up in Sheridan, Wyoming, there's a Common Sense there. Diesel pricing is normally floating between $3.70 and $3.90 a gallon. You better not be filling up in California. That's definitely going to kill you. Just right outside Las Vegas is a Indian reservation owned casino, fuel stop. Can't remember the name of it. I'm always stopping in there getting diesel because it's normally dirt cheap. And sometimes I'll do micro fuel ups, depending on how my fuel ups land within the week. Take, for example, this load that I'm under right now. It was a load that wasn't ready for me on Thursday. Got it delivered up here in Missoula first thing Saturday morning. And my gas light, my diesel light is on my dash right now, because I know my equipment. My 18-wheeler, my Freightliner, when that fuel light comes on, I have 65 gallons to empty. And if you know how to do some common math, you could calculate your average idling fuel burn and know you're not going to run out of diesel just because the dang fuel light's on. So my truck is idle since I've been parked up for about an hour, because it kicked on to do what they call a cold start. You know, it gets cold enough out here, my truck has a sensor on it where it fires up for about an hour and it dies. I've burnt 1.1 gallons of diesel within that 1 hour. And the reason I didn't fill up is because, number one, I didn't want to fuel up on last week, because any fill up that I have within the week is going to affect that week. So when I fill this truck up, it'll be tomorrow right down the road at a Petro where they're selling the diesel for $3.68 a gallon. That fuel up is going to land on next week, which is the week that this load will be affected by. So not only are you keeping unneeded, unwanted fuel ups off of your previous paycheck, they must have heard me talking crap about that driver that was snooping and pooping on me, but you're also keeping the associated fuel cost within the operating week of your gross. That's very important when you're keeping up with your P&L, your quarterly P&L. And if you don't know what P&L is, it's your profit and loss statement that you're going to want to generate for yourself, for your small business, to see exactly where you're landing each week with inside the quarter. I'll tell you about a quick story that I was talking to another truck driver just the other day when I was getting a couple of trailer tires put on. This guy was a door swinger who ran for Platinum Trucking out of California. And, you know, he was asking me some general questions about tarping. My load was wanting to know how long it took to tarp the load. So we were going back and forth with it. And I didn't know anything about Platinum carriers. So he was telling me, yeah, that he was a company driver. He had about 15 years of driving experience. Always wanted to get into lease purchase or buying his own truck, but didn't know how, and he was very scared. Well, so, you know, one conversation led into the next. And he was telling me that the carrier he was with, they were kind of pissed off at him. Reason they were mad is because they were pre-booking this guy on loads, which that's very important running out west, making sure that you have a pre-booked load. As a matter of fact, my boy all the way in Moldova, Dimitri, my brother from another mother, he keeps me pre-booked. Sometimes I could be pre-booked 2 or 3 loads in advance because he knows I'm good. Well, this guy wasn't making his times. He wasn't making his appointment times as a drop and hook dry van operator. And he said that he almost got his butt fired. So I was like, well, so I mean, how many hours are you driving in a day? And he was like, well, I'm driving about 8 or 9 hours in a day. I was like, well, why only 8 or 9 hours? He goes, because I got this thing about when I go lay down, I don't set an alarm clock because I don't want to set an alarm clock. So then I might sleep for 14 or 15 hours. I'm like, holy shit, how in the hell are you even sleeping for 14 or 15 hours? I was like, well, how many miles you run in a day? And he was like, you know, man, I'd be winning the lottery if I could get close to 500 miles a day. Well, why am I bringing this up in the first place? I'm not bashing the guy. If that's the way he wants to run, well, that's the way he wants to run. But if that's the way that you're wanting to run, or if that's the way that you're currently running, and you want to become an owner-operator or a lease purchase operator or a leased-on operator, you're not going to make it out in the West running like that. You might be able to get away with that nonsense out in the East. Out here in the West, you're going to go broke. You're going to go out of business. And I've always said this in previous leased-on videos. You should hop on my channel and scroll down if you ever thought about becoming a leased-on owner-operator, lease purchase operator. Video will give you a lot of good insight of what it's going to take as far as the magnitude and the fortitude from you to be able to make this small business happen. But you cannot, you just can't. You can't come out here in the West with problems. Because when you're running out here in the West, you need to be focused. You need to be 100% eye on the ball at all times. If you come out here, baby mama trauma, I said trauma, baby mama problems. Could be some trauma, I guess, for some of y'all guys. Problems, serious problems with the kiddos. You're in financial distress. Sorry, you're not gonna be able to do it, because that stuff is what's taking your mental focus away on being the best performing driver you possibly can. And yes, performing, because this is performance-based pay. You just can't come out here thinking that you're going to get rich out in the West. Everything you do is based on performance. And in order to get that performance-based pay, you have to be 150%, like I was talking about a second ago. And your silent partner, the guy that's going to be making it happen, he has to be focused 150%. And guys, if you're already leased on wherever you're leased on at, and you're already out here running in the West, I'll tell you something. Your pulling unit, your prime unit up there, your tractor and that trailer, you best be treating that tractor and trailer like it was a bar of gold. Be polishing it, cleaning it. You know, no, I'm not actually being serious because my truck's dirty as hell. But the maintenance is bar none on this truck and trailer. Whether you're performing your maintenance yourself or you're having somebody else do it, you best be on it 100%. I know a lot of these companies, for some reason, they like running fully synthetic oil in their truck, and then they'll run their trucks to 50 or 55,000 miles before doing any kind of oil changes. Me, that is not a way to treat your piece of equipment. People that do stuff like that, those people what they do is they're doing the 55,000 mile oil changes on their equipment because the equipment's on lease. So after 2 or 3 years, they're getting rid of the truck before all the devastating aftermath happens. All that nonsense mistreatment of the tractor catches up to them. And normally big problems start happening with these trucks around the 300,000 mile mark. Me, my oil change, I still do the fully synthetic because that's what this truck has always had in it. But I'm doing my oil change every 30 to 35,000. 35,000 is pushing it. And you bet your ass that my trailer is also having the same service done to it. Because let me tell you guys, I'm doing about 4,000 miles a week on this truck and trailer. So just like how we like to pamper ourselves at the spa, well, I don't. I like to go fishing and ride my motorcycle. But some people like that spa crap. That's what this truck and trailer get. They get a day at the spa, whether it's a Love's, Petro, Flying ATA, they're getting the works done on both of the units. And I'm also getting a couple of DOTs. Some of y'all might think that that's nonsense, but let me tell you, doing my DOT every about 2 months has saved me a couple of times. All of this falls in the scope of how you're going to be successful out here in the West. A lot of the stuff I'm saying will make you successful out in the East, but if you want to be out here in the wilderness under the big blue sky, where a goddamn tow will end up costing you $3,000 because you're close to nowhere, a little bit of my advice in this video is what's going to save your ass and make you successful. So I'm about to wrap it up. I'm going to tell you, I'm no blowhard when it comes to talking about my settlements. Any of you running for Nova Lines, or you're thinking about running for Nova Lines, and you go through the process to be able to come on at Nova Lines, if you don't believe what I'm saying, Nova Lines will tell you the truth if you ask them. I don't work for these guys like that. They're not paying me anything to produce these videos. So I'm tired of hearing that down in the comments. People saying that I'm working for the company or I'm a payoff. Let me tell you, I'm out here struggling just like the rest. I am not a payoff. I'm out here busting my ass, making this work, chasing excellence. But when I don't have mechanical failures or my truck's not in the shop, I am anywhere between 7,000 and 9,000 easy every single week out here. I released a gross video just today for just this week, and I did net take home was more than $3,800, and that's because I did $7,500 in my gross. And it's running the hell out of your clock, keeping fuel down, and making sure that all the overhead is up to date and you're not getting murdered in mechanics fees. All your previous bills are paid on time to be able to have nice looking gross like that. And of course, all of my nets that I give y'all guys is without taxes taken out. I do take my taxes out, but I don't give y'all those numbers. Never, ever, ever forget, ever forget, chasing excellence is not easy. Because if chasing excellence was easy, everybody would be out here doing it. Old Rookie 365 at Gmail, if any of y'all have any questions. Old Rookie out.